Cutting edge guests, awesome, uncensored, jaw-dropping information, plus funny memes, good deeds, and loads of laughter. Kind of have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, if your soul's awake, then welcome, because you're in the right place. Are you divine lions and lionesses? We have shocking news, not so shocking to some of you. Skynet is active. I'm joined once again by Clayton Thomas. We're going to provide evidence of the chemtrails, alien parasites, and the Internet of Bodies and the weather weapon satellites, which many of us are aware of. Yet years ago, Clayton and his wife, Dr. Christina Rahm, discovered 4 new types of black mold on the roof of their house. Now we have chemtrail tests showing extreme amounts of aluminum, barium, cadmium, radium, strontium, even in cases of mercury and more. And over the years, we have had unknown parasites from mysterious fogs moving through cities. Clayton and I wholeheartedly believe Skynet is active. It is a planetary scale weapon, and this is a DEFCON 1 event for all humanity. He's also going to provide some of the evidence with real-time solutions on how to protect yourself, your family, your community from being hooked up to the Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies. Because your politicians are not going to save you, many are likely in on it. Despite the fact that 31 states passed bills banning geoengineering, it's doing no good. From California to Kentucky, British Columbia to New Brunswick, humanity, we are being sprayed like bugs. These are crimes against humanity. Here's what to do about it. Stay tuned, share this everywhere. Welcome back to the Sovereign Soul Show. We're live with the amazing Clayton Thomas, co-founder of Root Brands, along with his beautiful wife, brilliant, intelligent, divine prophetic Dr. Christina Rahm, with 3 PhDs, a PsyD, and an MD. And Clayton, you're joining us live outside today. Thanks. And you said we got to put together this show ASAP, and I think now is a great time. So we'll just wait for the video to come back on you, and we'll be ready to go. There we are. I can see you and I can hear you again. I can't hear you now. Heard you earlier. If you need to, just go out and come on back in to pick up the microphone. There you go. Gotcha.
Okay.
Excellent.
That says it's working.
You're good.
Now the question is, why can't I hear you?
Oh, that's weird. If it's on Safari rather than the Google Chrome for the StreamYard browser, I'll give you a call.
Hold on here. I don't.
Sure.
Makes me look like a techno-tard.
Not too bad for a global company.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, but I can't hear you. Where's the...
There you are. So I just sent a text to him. Okay, this is how it works sometimes. With StreamYard, we're doing our best to get everything out here. And we have a multi-million-dollar budget like constantly negative news networks. All right, I can hear you.
I can hear you. There we go.
There we are. Excellent.
See, this is what happens every time we want to talk about this stuff. The machine wants to shut me off.
That's right. That's right. It does. Yep. Most definitely. Most definitely. So yeah, thanks very much, mate. I was just telling people we put this together in the last few days. We've got more that's coming up over the next every other 2 weeks. But this topic is the number one, I think, planetary. I'm in agreement with you. Planetary worry, DEFCON 1 for humanity. Everybody being hooked up to Skynet, which is active right now. So go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how it was done or how it's being done and what the consequences are. And then if you can accept that there's truth in all of this, right, then you might want to refer to someone who would be considered an expert and a nanotechnologist and a bioscience engineer that knew what was going on and that knew how to reverse it all. And that was prophetically in her path 28 years ago. So Where do you want to start in this? Do you want to talk mold? Do you want to talk chemicals? Do you want to talk metals? Do you want to talk biosphere? You want to talk EMFs and how it all ties the activation and all this stuff together and how it's amplified, and
Yeah.
mRNA vaccines and how they
Why don't
play
we
into this, whether you got them or not?
why don't we start with the discovery you guys made at your home on the 4 types of mold 5 years ago, and we build it from there? Because again, your wife is a scientist and now a medical doctor too, with 3 PhDs, a PsyD, and an MD, and all of that you just mentioned. And I think that's a great way to build a story because you guys had the evidence raining down on your roof in Franklin, Tennessee back then.
Well, and it wasn't raining on the roof, and this is what's really important for people to understand, that fungus is the underlying problem to all of our issues. And it's the wrong kinds of fungus, right? Because the body is actually made up of a mycelial network. But that's a whole other aspect of bioscience that people aren't ready to understand yet. So the big issue, and Christina's actually talked about this for 2 decades, the last 11 years being in I'll say the integrative space and out of healthcare. The other decade has been what she was doing in biotech, right? And we'll talk more about some of those other bioweapons that were created and how there's already been pharmaceutical mechanisms that have been created, tested, and applied to address
Yep.
what's been done, but there's better ways to do it naturally. So what we saw, and she's talked about this, that fungal issues are going to be the big problem. So black mold is a huge issue. Well, and what we saw at our own home that has been seen all over the country, starting 5-6 years ago, well, there were 4 kinds of black mold that had never been identified before and never been seen, that all of a sudden sprung up and started growing. And we saw that on, in our backyard, on some of our brick walls. We're like, that's never been there before, and that's not right. But then being in the scientific community that Christina's in, from, well, just about she's got access to more information than people can imagine.
Yep.
And this has been a topic of conversation, that there's going to be these different types of mold that grow. And all of these different types of molds will grow after a viral infection,
Yep.
environmentally, right? So they had the ability to release a programmed mechanism, right? We'll call it COVID. And that going through the population not only infected some of the weak and provided an opportunity for people to take needles that they maybe didn't know what the contents were, but the environmental impact of that happening created an environment for the extra proliferation of more fungus, both in the environment that could be in your home, is going to be around you, that you're going to be inhaling. And if it's in your house, then you're going to be inhaling it daily. You might even be bathing in it. And these are going to have immediate and long-term deleterious effects to your health, your well-being, and your psychology and your mental health.
Yeah.
And this is the key part that people aren't paying attention to. The real issue that we're facing isn't our physical health. They'll control your physical health. They can keep you going, right? It's your mental health. You're going to lose your capacity to be you. And this has been going on for a long time. So we've seen the fungal part, and the concept and conversation around chemtrails is something that's, I've been studying chemtrails for the last 30 years. And before, long ago, it was real conspiracy. Now it's not even something that is argued with. They're like, oh yeah, we do it. Like I was in my backyard last week throwing the ball with the dogs. I think it was Friday morning. It's beautiful blue skies, and I'm out there like 6:30 in the morning throwing the ball with my dogs, and I look up, and there's not one, not two, not three, but 4 separate planes that are all flying, spraying. And I'm looking up, and I'm like, oh, there's going to be some allergies for some people over the next couple days.
Yep.
Right. And it's it's not a matter of saying, oh, this is happening and they're trying to do these things. No, this just in, they've been doing these things. And glyphosate is not theory. Glyphosate's been put in the environment since 1974, right? And there's so much in the environment that there's no need for anything else. And I'd like to give a special thanks to the Department of Health and Human Services and the president for signing an executive order to make sure that they have an unlimited amount to continue to spray in this country.
Unreal.
Because that's great decision making when you want to get Americans healthy again. And then when you go back a step and you look at the heavy metal environment that we're dealing with aluminum, lead, and mercury being the foundation to every chronic degenerative disease state, and then you start adding all these things together and what they do, what they will do amalgamated, right? So when you combine these things in the human body, and then you start using the rest of the outside. Did I lose you?
Still got you. It flashed for a moment.
Camera.
You're good.
Oh, hold on.
I can hear you too.
It cut me off again. I'll be right back.
Okay. That's how we do it when it's live, right? So at least you all are getting the opportunity. There's also comments. You can put it in here because we'll take some questions at the end and also have an entire science team as well. But the key thing, everybody, these are not sensitive issues, obviously, which we're discussing here. These are the worldwide warfare upon us. We've talked about the spiritual. This is the other aspect. All right.
No, it's not the other aspect. You just hit on something that's crucial for people to understand. And I've been fortunate to be in the middle of places over the last 6 years that Christina's been in more of them because they know who she is. But I've been in environments, and when I'm in environments, I have a tendency to ask questions because they give me privilege because they think I'm special. And this is physical, mental, psychological, spiritual, and emotional, all simultaneously. This isn't about one thing. This is an absolute takeover of the ecosystem, right? And if you understand what's being done in the AI space right now, that they're using NVIDIA chips and human brain tissue to figure out how to process everything faster. Cloning's been done for a long time, so don't worry about that. That's been well established and well done. Christina was actually doing that early on in her biotech career, and if you actually ask her the question, which you'll have an opportunity to do, she'll tell you, it's like, oh yeah, they can bioprint. You can bioprint an entire human right now. The only thing that you can't transfer is a soul.
They were doing it at Clonade in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Clonade Winnipeg, Manitoba was doing that. In Australia last year, you could buy an entire cloned human for $35,000 delivered to you overseas. That's an Australian company. Live right now. Ricardo Bossi was talking about it and we touched on it on a show. That was 2025.
Yeah, you can. We were in Cyprus. What was it, 2026? So like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. And our colleagues there gave Christina an opportunity to go work at the lab that's there in North Cyprus that for $250,000 you can design your baby. And I mean, absolutely design it. And they're like, and she's like, no, I don't do that. I worked on CRISPR. That was too far. And I'm not playing in that space. That's not what we do. And, to see what the Chinese are doing and there's probably other people that spend a bunch of money to say, oh, I just had a baby. And it's going to be perfect. And, but we don't know if that's even true. So you have to understand that it's not one aspect that you're being attacked. It's multiple. And you have to be aware of it, because if you're not, then you're going to be manipulated, because the goal is to find your weakness and then manipulate your weakness in order to take control of the entire operating system. And everybody's weakness is a little bit different. This is the aspect of being able to watch some of the symbolism that's done in the past. Like the movie Devil's Advocate is one of my favorite movies. And Al Pacino said it best in the end. His last line in the entire movie: vanity. It's my favorite sin. And you know what they did? They knew that the majority of the public, and especially in the United States, was insulin resistant, because they've done a good job of poisoning us for the last 50 freaking years. So they said, great, here's a vaccine that you can have that it will exacerbate any issues in your body, and it'll kill you. But if it doesn't kill you immediately, it's going to find your weaknesses and make it worse. And then if you don't do it, well, everybody around you is going to start resonating and basically off-gassing, whether it's bioelectrically, physically, the byproduct of those shots being done, because each one of them turns an individual into their own, viral biosphere that becomes communicable. And then they're like, well, we'll just let this go. And we've got these other drugs that are ready. We'll call them GLP-1s, because if we release these in the environment, these mRNA shots, then people that have insulin resistance and diabetes are going to get worse. And then they're going to want a solution for that. So we'll give them GLP-1s. And then we'll just say that there's all these other research peptides that are loaded with other heavy metals that people are going to do because they want to be skinny. And it's funny that people didn't take one needle, but now they're getting excited about more needles. And they don't understand the game that's being played and how we're being manipulated, because this issue of dysmorphia, where it used to be like bulimia and anorexia in girls that we would talk about like when I was growing up, now these issues of dysmorphia have taken on a whole different range of stuff. And, you've got guys that are like looks maxing things that they talk about. And, then you've got, the workout craze, which is the same thing. It's a mental health issue, right? And it's a broad range that we're dealing with. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be doing stuff to be absolutely healthy and functional and look good and be good, but the process of being low on dopamine and serotonin causes you to make excessive decisions. And that's the important part of this connectivity from your brain, your pineal gland, your heart, your gut, of having everything work properly and be connected and happy and healthy. So yeah. How's that for a start?
That's a pretty good starter. And when you made a point about fungi and mold really kind of being a cornerstone, and the segue here from spiritual warfare, cover at spellcasting, we can do that, but here's the extension in the physical realm for everybody, which then if it's inside you in the physical realm, we've even seen it open up like portals for archons. Everybody, we not to say it talked that issue to death over the last several years, but Bishop Jim, as well as a few others, and Gene Decode, who I just had on again last week, those are the aspects of the actual reality and the metaphysics that can be used for the malevolent or the benevolent of humanity. And it's up to us to have both the spiritual protection on ourselves as a physical body, then our etheric body, then our family, then our home, and our community, and extend it out like ripples in a pond, really, right? And that's a key thing. And what I really appreciate you guys is you go right into the heart of darkness, and your wife as well. And I mentioned the audio, I guess, wasn't coming through in the beginning, Clayton. You're hearing it from me, but there was, a prophetic discovery with your wife and your soul, Dr. Christina Rahm, for being here at this point in time. Would you like to elaborate on that? And then we'll, bring it back into what you guys continue to see in all of your travels and the company continuing to grow at a rapid rate around the world because of that prophecy and because of what you guys put out there, regardless of the deep state and the nasty Luciferians agenda.
Well, it's interesting because you get the battle. And if you guys want combat in business, put a cross in your logo.
Yep. Right there. And they just tap him again. Look at this, right? Everybody's witnessing this in real time. They just did it again. Yep, do it. Do the loop. Here we go. So we're talking about the cross and the logo, right, for Root. You can see that up here if you're watching the broadcast. And if you're listening to this podcast later, link to go and connect with them. Even ask them questions after the fact. And the science team is totally amazing. I mean, really here for the entire world. And I see Kim here on YouTube. Wonderful, Kim in Wisconsin. Hello to Clayton and Brad. So we're just going to wait for Clayton to recycle and come back in. But I had shared imagery of Dr. Christina Rahm, his wife and the co-founder of the company here from Forbes magazine. Here he is. Just talking up your wife, my good friend. And but let's go to you in the prophecy. Always have to do that loop. So you can hear me now? No. Okay, hang on. It says you're on mute. Unclick the mute button. There. Nope. Go again. It says you're on mute. So just whatever.
Now I'm good.
There you go. Yep. Yep. And let me remove the other Clayton in the show. All right. So, yeah. You talk about the cross.
There we go.
And they cut you off. How you doing?
Hide vertical.
Good. Take a sip of natural spring water out of my root cup. How great is that? There we go.
Hey, I think it worked.
Excellent.
Okay, there we go. So you hit on something profound and then it cut me off because people keep calling.
The cross in your logo and the prophecy placed upon your wife.
Yeah, it's actually been something that happened 3 times, at least 3 times in different parts of the world, actually. She was at a Revision Ministries event 28 years ago down in Alabama, and a couple from Australia was putting on the event, and they washed her feet and they were praying over her. They're like, we see this banner of Esther that's over you. And we keep getting this message that you're put here to heal people in a war on healthcare in the future. And she said, this is what you're here for. And she's like, there's no war in healthcare. And they're like, there will be, and that's why you're here. And so when you look at her history of, growing up in an area of Missouri that's known to have the highest rates of cancer and Alzheimer's because of the amount of glyphosate that's used in the environment, to contracting Lyme's disease when she was 19, from falling in a tick bed in North Carolina, to then going to work in biotech and doing military research projects with Pfizer, where they were talking about weaponizing fleas and ticks and mosquitoes, what they were doing in Europe. And then, doing cloning, doing mRNA vaccine research with Bristol Myers Squibb on HIV and rheumatoid arthritis, and going through this entire journey that she's been through, having a brain tumor, a spine tumor, every kind of skin cancer you can ask for, losing kid to cancer, having our 21-year-old had cancer when he was 2. And she's kicked ass, took names, and chewed bubble gum. It kind of lays the groundwork. And wherever we've gone in the world, whether it's the Vatican, whether it's royal families in KSA, whether it's in the UAE with some of the royal family members or different areas of the world, they all know who she is. And that's a quote, because it's not who she is as a name. It's who they know, what they see, and what they know who she is, because you can see it energetically. And like you said, I mean, we've been in the belly of the beast over the last 4 to 5 years. Being in the Vatican, I got to lay on the floor in the Sistine Chapel, which was amazing. And then I got to ask some real questions that I got real answers to that will pertain to what we're talking about. But even being in Davos, we got to know what was coming as far as these GLP-1s a few years ago, because they were talking about it in Davos.
Yeah.
And if you're not there, how are you going to know? You think, oh, wow, this is novel. But I mean, all these things are planned, right? And if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And if we don't know what's going on, we can't solve it. The good part is we knew what was going on and we solved it. And the best part is over the last 6 years, we've tracked all the outcomes, published all the clinical case studies, and published them. And she filed for patents on the outcomes. This was the crazy part that she did as a bioscientist, works so heavily in biotech. She understood their patent pathways. She actually has Moderna's attorney, who's their patent attorney, who filed all of their patents, who's filing everything for her. You think he doesn't have some privileges? But she's filed for 40 patents over the last year and a half on the reversal and treatment of disease states based on the proven protocols and outcomes. So she backdoored the IP community, because most people will file for a patent when they have an invention. And you can see those first patents, a lot of those first patents pertain to some of the inventions. But then based on the outcomes that we've already proven, to be able to get rid of ADD, ADHD, and autism, it's kind of a big deal. We had that patent filed in September of 2024, to be able to take care of ALS or, some of the other issues that you'll see there. There's 38 patents that are there.
Lymphoma, Parkinson's, patent filed, non-Hodgkin's, incredible, right?
Yeah, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes.
Treatment for MS, treatment for breast cancer, treatment for alopecia, psoriasis, migraine, peripheral neuropathy, diabetes, infertility, senile dementia, lung cancer symptoms.
The long COVID and vaccinosis patents aren't on there. I don't know why they haven't loaded them, but they'll be up there pretty quick. But what you can see is not just the patent filing, but you can see the protocol. Now, most people are going to say, well, you can't claim to treat diseases with things that are natural. Well, we're not claiming to treat anything. We have the patents filed because we've already proven it. So what do we need to argue over? Go find me another company that's got a patent on the reversal of autism and have them call me. Oh yeah, they don't exist because our department of DHHS is still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Well, we won't talk about that part, but yeah, there we go.
Exactly. Yeah. It's truly remarkable, right? What you guys have been able to do. And then, let's talk about the company and its reach all across the world, because, we have people from South Africa to New Zealand, Clayton, to Australia. I mean, they're leveraging this from our sharing over the last 4 years. There hasn't been a day that has gone by, not a day that has gone by, that I can recall in 4+ years. I haven't had a single drop. I've gone without a single drop of Clean Slate, right? Which to me is the number one thing foundationally everybody should have. Just do that. And speaking of how they like to come in and cancel us or stop us from talking about things, one of the video is still not up there on YouTube, but they took down your video, the company's video, of showing that when Clean Slate goes on a graphene oxide under a microscope, it dissolves heavy metals in graphene oxide. So imagine this product dissolving what's in our body, right?
It's not dissolving, and this is something that's really, really important scientifically. It's not dissolving; it's actually absorbing and adsorbing, and it's neutralizing and then allowing it to be removed. So the important part with the constituents that we use to make Clean Slate, you've basically got little nano cages that are bioelectrically charged. And the bioavailable silica that exists within this crystalline structure becomes transferable to the body, which is the most important thing the body needs. You need bioavailable.
Wow, look at that. They just knocked him again right when you're talking about it. I'll show you all what I was just sharing. I do not leave home without this Clean Slate. I can hear Clayton in the background waiting for his video to come up, but that's it, everybody. It's available around the world, and it is extremely valuable.
Do it.
There we go. I got you here. Can you hear me? How about now? The old Verizon commercial, right? Can you hear me? If you need to do another loop, do another loop.
Can you hear me again?
Yep.
You can. I can't. God bless it. Hold on here.
So that's how it goes. Anyway, so what we're talking about with Clean Slate is it's a chelator, right? Even though I say that, you put it in the body. So from a chelation standpoint, the best way, here it goes. We'll give it another shot. How is it now? How about now?
There we go.
Excellent. So we're talking about chelation with Clean Slate. Go ahead. Because they keep knocking it off. Yeah.
So the concept of chelation therapy is old, right? It means to claw. But the methods of chelation have changed significantly. So I'll give it the last 50 years, the conversation has really pertained to 3 products: EDTA, DMPS, and DMSA. When it comes to clinical chelation, and now you have these people that are talking about EVU and doing blood filtering and transfusion, which I wouldn't touch with I wouldn't let anybody plug me into a device.
Got to be one of the most targeted guys in the world.
Did you lose me again? Hold on.
I got you now. We got you now. We're getting it done. Yeah, exactly. Oh my stars. In Wisconsin, exactly. Here we are.
There we go. So
there we go.
When we look at chelation therapy, there's chlorella, there's cilantro, greens, different things will help mobilize metals.
Yeah.
And some of those, and this is why Relive Greens is so important, is the components in Relive Greens will actually provide the cofactors that the body needs to produce endogenous glutathione. Well, glutathione is the master antioxidant, but what you also have to understand is it's mercury that actually shuts off the production of glutathione, but it starts that process when you're conceived. So, and you don't have an MTHFR problem, you have a mercury problem, because mercury shuts off methylation, because the methylation pathways of the body are one of the primary mechanisms that help remove mercury, and mercury doesn't want to be removed because it's the most nefarious substance known to man, and it's in you from the time you're conceived. So it's actually controlling this process. So the key then is, what are you going to do to safely, systemically, and passively support the active passive removal, but at the same time support the body's natural pathways of turning back on and doing it the way that it's supposed to, not trying to override the system, but understanding from a bioscience engineering standpoint, what does the body need in order to do what it is made to do, versus trying to bypass some of these pathways synthetically that might be good as talking and marketing, but are not good over the long term.
Yep.
And this is where real science and real outcomes come in. Like with the process that we use to make Clean Slate and the patents that you just showed, clinoptilolite is one of nature's most effective chelators of heavy metals and environmental toxins.
Right.
But you have to process it properly. And I'm the guy that's been working on this stuff for 2 freaking decades, right? So the majority of the products on the market, I've either worked on, sold a long time ago, and I've owned a manufacturing company in it. And my wife has taken this process to a level that no one even conceived before, because all of these other zeolite products, all these liquid zeolite products, most of them are using phosphoric acid to try to clean the cages, which they're dissolving the silica of the crystal, which is releasing the aluminum and actually creating a dilution of aluminum and phosphoric acid. That's not good. What Christina did, and if you take the time to read through the patents, she actually created a process that actually breaks apart the crystal, causes the bioavailable silica to exchange for other heavy metals within the binding sites of the cage structure, and delivers the trace minerals and some ascorbic acid at the same time. But she's also programming these crystals with harmonics, with love, with prayer, with intention, and with magnets and some other cool stuff. And you can see this in a whole host of different methods of testing, from heart rate variability, urine excretion analysis. You can go down the list of stuff.
Right.
But we've already got all the data, so the other methods of detoxification, like if you look at a bottle of Clean Slate, it's $74.
Yep.
If you go to a doctor for chelation therapy and they want to do an IV on you, they're going to charge you $400. They're going to tell you need 10 to 14 of them. Well, here, if you want to go hardcore, drink a bottle. It's $74. You can do that 6 times. You can do a bottle a day for a week. That is going to give you better outcomes.
You'd be floating.
More bioavailable silica. Your body will light up like a freaking Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly.
On Hanukkah. And it's going to cost you less than doing what they're trying to get you to buy into, which if you have a practitioner that actually has done chelation therapy for a long time, like Dietrich Klinghardt, Great example. Dietrich's been in practice for like 50 years. I lectured with him 20 years ago. And they know that all of these old chelation methods don't work over an extended period of time because you actually start binding the metals that they're putting in an IV. So they're binding the trace minerals that they're putting in. So they're charging you $400 or $500 to come sit and get a bag or 2 bags for literally nothing. And then you have this concept of detoxifying your blood by filtering your blood. Well, here's something that's really important to understand. All of these heavy metals and environmental toxins that you're dealing with, they're lipophilic and they're neurotoxins, and they're stored in your kidneys, your liver, your brain, your fat, your central nervous system. Your blood is a transportation medium. It is not where these heavy metals and environmental toxins are stored. So you might be able to filter a little bit out. And what I've seen these people talking about, they're like, oh my God, I just filtered my blood. Well, you can only do about 25% if you do that. So then theoretically, you've got to do at least 4 rounds just to clean up your blood supply. But when you do that, your body's going to start pulling heavy metals and other environmental toxins out of deeper levels of sequestration, which then are going to be deposited in other parts of your body, which is going to create other symptomology and other types of chaos. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yep.
Because maybe some of these people that are promoting these things aren't on your team. Maybe they were bought and sold a long time ago, and they're just part of the narrative that's trying to get you to do things that might make you more controllable. Because if they know they can get you to buy into that philosophy, you're hooked.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah, it is. But that's the part of being a warrior, right? And knowing that you're in a battle. You're in a constant battle. Because this goes back to, having some semblance of knowing what it means to be of God and to act Christ-like, right? This understanding that, we just had Easter and people were like, oh yeah, Jesus died and Jesus came back. I'm like, okay, great. And he was the example for us. If you talk to every other religion, like this is the thing, go to the Vatican, go sit down with Muslims. Everybody knows Christ. It's truth. And then they'll build a different narrative to create a control mechanism off of the truth, right? People, like I've listened to a couple podcasts recently, and you have people talking about, well, how the Roman Empire fell, right? And the United States is in the same cascade that Rome was in when Rome collapsed. And well, here's an interesting little point of history for everybody, and I had this confirmed by my colleague, who's the former apostille for the last pope that now works. He's the apostille for the Secretary of State of the Vatican, who's the one that decided not to become pope so they could put in the American dude. Here's the truth. The Vatican and the Roman Empire never fell. It never fell. It became a religion. It became Roman Catholicism. Catholicism as it is today is the Roman Empire. They were genius. They said, we can't tax people anymore, but this whole Christian thing is growing pretty good. So let's just take that over and let's have this become a religion.
Council Nicaea, 5th century, yeah.
It's all, and guys, that's in books in the library. Yeah. Their library. This is not fiction. It's fact. Right. And if you look at the growth of the empire and the influence of the empire, they got 1.6 billion people globally. And you go, well, that's a pretty good deal. And they got everybody tithing. And the most valuable bank on the planet is the Vatican Bank.
Yeah. Greek goddess of the dark underworld. Vatica, Greek goddess of the dark underworld.
And you know why? And you know why they called it? Because what's the underworld? What sits under the Vatican? The foundation of the entire freaking Roman Empire.
Yep. Built on top of each other. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, no.
Yep. Yeah. So, like they use the ley lines in the land, the creature from Jekyll Island. There's really dark stuff that happened there, and they build Jekyll Island, build their new empiric stratofortresses, create creature from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve, IRS, FBI, and ADL, right, with the 1913 Act.
Yeah.
But wow, yeah, we could go all over here.
So when you not
I got questions about diabetes in the chat and questions about chemtrails. Somebody went to the hospital today in the chat, so I want to make sure we also take that from YouTube too. Continue, man.
So let's get into some of the questions, because this is where people learn. People learn from asking questions. They get a little bit from us talking, but if you've got questions, ask, and then we'll dive into some things on that. But when you know these things are true, and here's the thing with truth. If you understand universal law, you only have to put it out once.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I don't, I like to have a good sense of humor. And one day I will go on stage and talk trash and call it a comedy routine. But I don't like comedy because people in comedy just repeat the same process. I'm like, no, say it, drop it, put it out there, go on to the next one. And that's the hard part, is that if you're not really creative, you don't have that process. But they understand this. It's like the truth was put out in 1976 by the World Health Organization. They published a 140-page paper. You can go on PubMed and look this up right now. 140-page document published in 1976 by the World Health Organization that they proved that mercury was the cause at the time of 85% of all chronic degenerative disease. That means it's the foundation of all of our problems. Wow. You can look at everything else, but the truth is the foundation, the true etiology, the true cause of all of our problems is mercury. And our exposure starts at conception.
Yep. Plus,
not
when the
vaccines.
My mother had fillings when she was a teenager, and those fillings, my sister and I, when we were born, right, we had massive issues. I was in a NICU for 3 weeks. She wasn't allowed to see me for the first 2 days, at 10 pounds, 8 ounces in a 35-hour birth. It was crazy. But anyway, that stuff, we got to get the issues in our tissues out of our tissues, those issues, in order that we clean up the environment, that we can continue to build the physical security for all of us. The first question that came in is from Darren Godet. I'll post it right up here so everybody can see it. It said, I've been sick since Wednesday. I think it's the chemtrails. And I believe Darren is based out of Canada, perhaps right around Ottawa, which, you mentioned you saw 4 planes going over on Friday, playing with the dogs, Clayton. I videoed 3 weeks ago in British Columbia, 7 at once, just going in a formation straight across, and then they all came back in British Columbia. So it continues, right? It's just a massive chemtrail fog with alien parasites. We still need to talk about that too. But this is what Darren says. I've been sick since Wednesday. I think it's the chemtrails. And if anybody's just joining us now, we have shown the patents that Dr. Christina Rahm, co-founder of Root with Clayton, his wife, has on everything from diabetes to dementia and all things in between. So I'll let you answer Darren's question and your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's not exactly the chemtrails, right? You have to understand that every one of us has a body burden, right? Some of us are overburdened while we're in the womb and you die. That's why women miscarry. If you're born, you have a body burden. Sometimes you're already tipped, so if you get extra shots, your neurological system is going to go out of whack, right? Because they're putting more mercury and more aluminum into you, and then your body just goes haywire. Sometimes you might be lucky, like I'll say I was allegedly, and my mom miscarried before I was born. So my older brother, who was supposed to be here, that's not, because she miscarried, was so toxic that he couldn't make it. So he took one for the team to make me not as polluted so I could be here, right? And then because of my lifestyle, I didn't get drugs as a kid. I grew up in an integrated veterinary practice. So all the stuff that we're talking about now, I was studying when I was 8, right? And I was doing trace mineral supplementation and everything as a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and as an athlete, and learning how I need to eat, which then, now that we have an insanely complex genetic analysis, I learned that I was eating right for my own genetics as a kid, just innately. And so what we're dealing with is you're being bombarded. You've been loaded since you were conceived. We've been bombarded every day since. So as more stuff comes out, if you're not being proactive about your health, you are going to be a literal victim of your environment. And I talked about this in Davos, and people were like, "Oh my God, you went to Davos." Here was one of my quotes from Davos, because I think it's on my socials or something. You will either be biologically strong or you will be technologically controlled.
Wow. Excellent quote. Yep.
And that's
Excellent.
just it. If you are unwilling to invest in yourself and actually understand what is going on, or understand, as some people want the semantics, if you become knowledgeable over what's really going on, you have to make decisions in accordance with being one that's taking care of yourself. And here's the sad truth of living in America. This isn't as bad anywhere else in the world, but it is horrific in the United States. So if you want your life to be better and you want your health to be better, here's the one thing that you can do. Move. Get out of America. Because here's the truth. And you'll understand this because we're already talking about it, and you know these things to all be true. One, the air is polluted. Are we good on that one? Yeah, we've pretty much covered that. Two, the water's polluted. The water's not just polluted with heavy metals. The water's polluted with glyphosate. The water's polluted with more medications that people have been taking that filtration systems aren't even able to filter out.
Yep.
And why were they talking about frogs and atrazine over 30 years ago when they were looking at doing research up in Ohio and in Illinois and different places? They're like, hey, there's these runoff from these facilities that are producing stuff, and they're putting water into these ponds, but now these frogs are becoming hermaphrodites, or male frogs are becoming female frogs. We're having all these things. These chemicals are doing these things to the animals, and you go, oh, don't worry, it's only animals. Nope, sorry, that's in you. So then we know, what does that mean? Okay, so the water's polluted, the air's polluted. That means the soil's polluted. Why? Because one.
There you go. They just knocked him.
Did that work? Am I still there?
Yep, you're still good. I can hear you. Can't see it, but
we've got the soil. We got the soil pollution. Why is the soil polluted? One, it's depleted, right? So we know the nutrient content is no longer there because we haven't done any regenerative farming. We created all the GMOs, and then what did they do to make the GMOs? They made them glyphosate compliant.
Yeah.
Right. So there's 95% of all the farmland and grassland in this country is loaded with glyphosate because it doesn't leave the environment. And they've used it as a desiccant. So not only are they spraying the crops with it, after stuff is picked, they might not have sprayed it when it was in the field, but after it's picked, like wheat and oats and corn, they use it as a desiccant. What is a desiccant? It's the drying agent. But here's the thing that you have to understand with glyphosate, because so many people are saying glyphosate causes cancer. It causes lymphoma. It causes cancer. Glyphosate is bad. Don't worry about that. Here's the truth. And I actually went over this with Don Huber 6 years ago, who's the world's leading subject matter expert on it. You can find that on YouTube too. You'll have to pull that up and post that, Brad. Here's the truth of what glyphosate does. It gives plants AIDS.
It's crazy.
And it gives people AIDS. You have an acquired immune deficiency syndrome. And you know what's interesting? Christina and I, 2 months ago, we did an event in Kenya. We didn't have to go. We did it virtually, thank God. But we had like 300 doctors on there, and they were talking glyphosate. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. So I did some research while we were doing the event, and there's 26 different products that are sold in Kenya that have glyphosate in them.
Wow.
And so they've been doing this for a minute. So in 1976, they introduced glyphosate into the market in Kenya. And the number one killer of the population in Kenya is AIDS. Do you know when the AIDS epidemic started in Kenya? I'll give you a guess. Just pick a year. Just pick a year.
1976.
That's a bingo.
Yeah.
And you go, I wonder, is there a clue? Interesting. So when you look at this and you go, okay, so the air's polluted, the water's polluted, the soil's polluted. That means the food's polluted. That means you can't eat the food. So what are you going to do? Well, it would be amazing if a nanotechnologist and a bioscience engineer knew this was going to happen. She's like, well, if we can't eat the food, we need to create an entire process that will give our bodies what it needs, not from a digestive standpoint, but from an energetic standpoint and a nutrient standpoint, because you don't need quantity. You need quality, and you need programming. and you need stacking. And
And a
that's where the trend.
Bovis scale, showing
And
it on the Bovis scale. That was one of my
and
greatest shows I've ever
is
done.
there something, is there a thing that words have meaning, right?
I've
And
heard
that there's
of it.
always clues. So do you think that, like in a lot of churches, they say that there's the Trinity. And then in the Matrix, as a symbol of understanding what you have to find, Neo had to go find a white rabbit in order to find, wait, Trinity in order to start his process. And then to address everything that's going on to us, it also happens to be, wait for it, the Trinity. Now, why can I say that? Oh, because we already have the patents filed for the reversal of all the stuff that you worry about.
Mhm.
Not, and I'm not making the claim, right? I don't have to make the claim because we already have the published data. We already have the proof and filed for the patents to make it simple for you to reference to say, oh yeah, here's how you treat that one. And you're not, and here's the thing, you're not treating the disease. So if you want to question me, it's like, oh, you're talking about treating diseases here with Brad. No, we're not. We're actually addressing the underlying etiology and giving the body what it needs to do what it's capable of doing. You don't treat disease, just like in the Matrix. There is no spoon. You don't have a disease, you don't have a disorder, you don't have a syndrome. You are polluted as all get out, and you've got to take care of your body and give it what it needs so it can perform the way that it's made to, the way that God built us. We've never seen that. That's what we're trying to get back to. And create balance in your body so you don't have parasitic overgrowth. You don't have fungal overgrowth. They will exist in your body because some parasites are good. Some fungus is good. Balance is everything. And that's the key to this entire process.
Yep. It's perfect. What I'm also showing right now, I've highlighted a number of the patents filed and we have a question here in the chat. I'll show everybody from Bogey 7771 says, my daughter is type 1 diabetic. Will this help improve insulin resistance so she can eventually become sufficient on her own? We did chat about that earlier in the show, but we'll pick it up now, especially when we have a mother or a father here talking about their daughter and insulin resistance. And I'll highlight once again the patent filed for this from Root while you discuss and respond.
Yeah, you can pull up the patents on it. Here's what I can say. I have friends that used to be type 1s and insulin dependent that don't use insulin anymore.
Yep. Here's the patent. Number 22 on the site. If you go to getrootnow.com, everybody, and you go up to the science section, you have all the list of the patents that have been filed, pending, or approved. And here it is, number 2022, treatment for non-insulin dependent diabetes, and all the products. Clean Slate, again, everybody, Clean Slate is the very first product. If there is any product that you take from Root, it is Clean Slate, hands down. Everything else gets built from that.
Yeah, it's where you should start. And I think the biggest part, from, I would take, if you wanted the simple start and you're like, oh, I don't want to spend too much money, but I want to know what this will do. It's Clean Slate and Zero In. And I would get a box of Zero In and a bottle of Clean Slate. But even if you want to test it a little bit, get a bottle of Clean Slate and a 15 pack. You can get a 15 pack of Zero In for $29. Take 2 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Booyah, Stuart.
Yep.
In 5 days, you'll be different.
Yeah. Sorry, you continue. You're the subject matter expert. I'm just showing everybody that, hey,
it's
not a day goes by I don't have 1 to 2 Zero In, and then obviously Clean Slate. So I'm starting right off the date. I've got a couple drops of Clean Slate that I put the best weight, and it tastes really nice and salty, right? Because it's clean up to life, right under the tongue,
and sea salt,
and fantastic, and off you go.
You want to know the funny part? Because there's so many
people
on
canker sores and wounds, depending on bad nutrition, whatever was going on, and it clears up super fast. Mm-hmm.
The interesting part, because so many people talk about like humic and fulvic acid, they're like, oh my god, this stuff is great. Here's the funny part. I have a wife who's a nanotechnologist and a bioscience engineer. So when she was formulating Clean Slate because she created the solution initially to, process clinoptilolite. And then when she was making the solution, she's like, okay, I need to find the best sources of sea salt. And I'm like, why sea salt compared to some of the other stuff that's popular with humic and fulvic acid? She's like, those aren't for humans. And it's funny because if you look at where humic and fulvic acid come from, in most instances it's peat bogs in different areas. So you have decayed plant, animal, and human matter that all make up that mineral content. Now, it's one thing to say, bioenergetically, I don't know if we need to be consuming dead humans. But the other part is that's fertilizer. That's what you feed the plants. That's what you put on the crops in order to put the stuff back into them because it's dirt. Jesus said that we are two things. We are salt and light. So I'm going to go with sea salt on this one, Bob.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
And it's using the right combinations and the right programming to give the body, the signaling that it needs in order to do what it's capable of doing. Because we don't, like I said before, we don't need digestion. We need signaling. If you understand that we are frequency based, we are light based. If you know who Christ is, you know light, right? The Shroud of Turin showed and proved that Jesus went freaking nuclear, right? Literally went nuclear and put his energetic imprint into a cloth that's been here for 2,000 freaking years, right? In Turin, Italy. It's there. You can go see it.
Yep.
It would be
they
amazing.
only put it on display 30 days out of the last 40 years for the public. How crazy is that, right? Hiding it. That first photograph from the 1960s, like a Polaroid photograph, you could see the holographic imagery of the Shroud of Turin and Yeshua's body, bioelectric imprint, which is like as thin as a hair. It's less than a hair thick on that shroud. It's incredible.
And those things are truth. We're not talking theory here. That's truth.
Yeah.
So what does that prove? It means that because he was us, right? He was the example for us. What does that mean? It means every one of us is a bioelectric quantum computing system that is basically a nuclear reactor. But they showed that to you in the Matrix too, because Neo went freaking quantum. He went nuclear in the end of the first episode when he went starburst. He showed you they showed you exactly what's in us, but that's what Jesus did. And you go, yeah, but then they're blending science fiction with science fact, and they're showing it to us because the Wachowskis, before they went a little bit crazy, and they put it on tape. But the writer? Do you know who the writer of the Matrix is?
Tom Altos.
I think it's a woman, right?
Well, that was the one that stole the work, and they set her up to be the one. Tom Altos, I've had many shows with him. He's been on Roseanne twice. She's doing another show with him.
And you look at the combination of the narrative.
Tom Altos, yeah.
And you go, the narrative was designed to show people a new version of Christianity.
Yeah.
And people didn't get the message because they're locked in the entertainment. They're like red pill, blue pill. Like, okay, but are you going to go down the path to become like him? Why did they use Neo? N-O-E? N-E-O? Oh, was it O-N-E? The one?
One.
Like, so everybody's job was to become like the one.
The hero's journey.
Which is our job. Our job is to become Christ-like.
Yep.
Which is like him. Now, don't let the Romans kill you. Right? Don't take the Jews' money. They get mad at that, and then they'll celebrate. But you are solely responsible for your journey, your path. Solely responsible. No one's coming to save you.
Right.
If you're a parent, you are responsible for your kids. Right? Well, that's our job. That's our role.
Talking about the kids for 1 second on the responsibility, the Adderall phase has just went crazy. We're planning on going here, but also from the chemtrails, parasites. And I definitely want to talk about the alien parasites too, which you and your wife discovered under a microscope in the 4 new types of mold that have never been seen on Earth before that are showing up in your house 5 years ago, which is happening a lot all around the world. People are noticing this too. Even in trees and forests, there's like, what is all this crap, this goo, like a black goo on there? But from Adderall and the continuing prescribing to kids to get them maybe 40 minutes of direct focus, I've had people on this show over the years who have taken Zeroin. One guy was 42 years old, been on Adderall since he was 17. He goes, the third day taking just 2 Zeroin, I threw away my prescription on Zeroin. And you mentioned the 15 pack for $29, right? And this is the quantum consciousness. So for example, like if you look at from your car, you want to, flush out the entire system and make it ready to go. You've got the clean slate with the chelation of the heavy metal toxicity and so much more. Plus, this helps decalcify the pineal gland, everybody. Clean slate, that's the second ultra benefit. And then Zeroin.
And recrystallize it. Hold on. Don't short it. Don't short it.
Not trying to.
Decalcify and recrystallize, because it's not just the outside. What you have to understand is what's on the inside of your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is the light center of the brain. On the inside of your pineal gland are little crystalline resonators that are actually processing all that light and are processing serotonin and converting serotonin into melatonin and DMT. So this is why Zeroin is so important. Your pineal gland won't do what it's made to do if you don't produce natural dopamine and serotonin. This is why they're a pair. This is why it's so crucial, because you can't talk about one thing and not understand the entire operating system. The body runs on its neurological system, right? That's the electronics of this operating system. It needs neurotransmitters because that's the gas. Dopamine and serotonin are the gas. Your gut produces them so your brain can do everything that you want it to do. Because guess what? Your body is an F1 Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
And your soul is driving. Your soul is the driver. You're in control of the vehicle. But if you don't know how to drive it the way that God made it for you, you might run it into a wall. So this is where you've got to go through the process of cleaning stuff up, giving it what it needs, and then you can drive it like you stole it. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the first quantum consciousness, nootropic, adaptogenic, intention-based. You want to call it a supplement, people can call it a supplement right here with the Zeroin.
Call it a weapon of performance.
Intention-based. It's amazing because people can be, I want to have a deep sleep. And they've leveraged this to have some of the greatest sleeps of their life and also get in the flow. And I can tell you, we've had a doctor here who 100% credits for taking Zeroin for saving a 4-year-old's life. And this 4-year-old baby was flown in on a life flight. The medics, first the paramedics at the car accident scene, were unable to intubate the baby, which everybody knows. If it's intubation, on a 4-year-old, sorry, it was a 4-month, not a 4-year. It was a 4-month-old baby. Couldn't get it done on a life flight, landed at the hospital. The flight paramedics still could not intubate the baby. And this was like the 3rd or the 4th day of this doctor using Zeroin. And this is an awake doctor in the United States who had been fired for refusing the jab and put in the exemptions and one of those, right? And another benevolent hospital brought her on. And she said, I was just in a flow, her words, I was in a flow state. And within a few seconds, intubated, the baby took it off, and people were looking at me like, how did you do that? And she's not in pediatrics. She sometimes supports it, but she's not a pediatrician, pediatric surgeon. She goes, it had to have been the Zeroin. Like, she only took it 2 hours before that shift. She goes, it had to have been. I was just in the flow, knew what to do. Time slowed down. I did it, and it was done. From the Zeroin,
baby.
Credits Zeroin for saving that child's life. She's like, everybody knew what to do, but it just helped me and did it.
Well, I was talking to a world champion in boxing yesterday, Chris Van Heerden. And so he just retired last year or year before last, so he was 2-time IBO world champion in his weight class. And we were Christina did a podcast with him, so we were chatting before he went in to see her, and I was like, here, pop a couple of these, take 2 0N, so you're gonna be good to go. He's like, what does it do? I'm like, oh,
Nice.
it'll make you better. And he's like, so, and he starts going into microdosing. He's like, man, I've done a little bit with microdosing and everything slows down. And he said, I thought about using it in training and whatnot to see what would happen. I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to use shrooms and actually try to fight. I said, but this is actually literal nootropic microdosing because of the pine bark and the macunapurians. And those are the two catalysts. And the funny part is this is already banned substance free. So if you're an elite athlete, this is banned substance control group certified. It's banned substance free.
IOC, Spec Ops, the U.S. military, it's approved for everybody. It's
legal, right? This is legal doping. If you like winning, here's the secret. If you're all playing on the same level, right? If you're a professional athlete, everybody's playing on the same level. Here's the differentiator. Dopamine. That's it. That's the differentiator. We even got to see it in the national semifinals of the NCAA tournament when the younger boozer basically collapsed in a matter of 2 seconds because he couldn't handle the mental pressure. And then you got to see a kid that got a tip, got the steal, and you can watch his brain light up because he got the dopamine hit when he got the steal. So Byron Mullins kicks the ball forward to a guy on the wing. The guy kicks it back to him and from 36 feet from the freaking logo. If you watch it, you can see the kid didn't flinch. He has shot that shot so many times in his life in the gym just screwing around that his brain was so wired because he got the dopamine hit 3 seconds before from getting the tip and the steal that he jacked the three, canned it, and was like, yeah, I'm good. So you can actually see what dopamine does live in that, where you're deficient, you turn the ball over, you do something you've never done in your life in the last 3 seconds of a game, and all you got to do is take a foul. You turn the ball over, the other kid does the defensive move, gets the dopamine because your brain will give you some, and this is why social media and everything is taking your attention away. He gets the dopamine hit, gets the ball back, and is like, I'm now a legend.
Yep.
And this is the fun part of understanding. So cool. You can control this process. You can dictate how much you want and how long, because neurotransmitters are used, right? They're not stagnant. You don't like, oh, I'm gonna take some right now and I'm good for a long time. No, you're going to use them. It's gas, right? So if you know that they're gas and you know that maybe today you're going to keep the car parked and you're not going to do much, then maybe you don't need as much. But tomorrow you want to write a book, you need to take care of kids, you're going to go to the gym, you want to get a bunch of stuff done at work. You're like, man, you know what? I'm going to need some more gas today. You might be like me and take 2 to 3 in the morning. If I'm going to go play golf, I take 4 before a round of golf and I'll take 2 at the turn. And I play out of my mind. And we've got the number one 18-year-old in the UK who's one of the top juniors in Europe that's been working with us for years now. He's gone from a +4 to a +8 handicap, which puts him on the same level of the top guys on the PGA Tour. And he's 18. And he'll tell you, this stuff is insane what it does in competitive, highly competitive championship rounds of golf where it's all mental. This is the key. For everybody that's here, if you want to, guys, listen to me. If you want to be the best husband and the best dad you can be, get some of this. Yep. Get some zero and spend $30 and do this. If you're a dad, 2 in the morning, depending upon what you're doing, take another 1, maybe 2 in the afternoon. You're going to finish your day at work. You're going to go get your workout done. You'll do it in the morning. You'll do it in the afternoon. But when you go home, you won't be tired. You won't be stressed. You won't be worn out. You'll be present with your wife and with your kids. I will tell you, it is the biggest gift that I've had dads tell me. They're like, I'm not upset. I don't get frustrated with my teenagers. I'm actually present, and I'm the person that I want to be with my wife and my kids because you have the tools. You're not running on empty. It is women. I'll tell you the same way, but I can't say this because I'm a guy, but I'll tell you why my wife created this. My wife worked on Viagra at Pfizer. and her first question was, what are we doing for women? She created Zero In specifically to address women's sexual health, because guys, we're a pump. If you get blood flow going, we're pretty easy to deal with. Women, bioelectrically, a lot more complex. You need those neurotransmitters because you got to be in the right mood. You need to be relaxed. You need to feel good. You need to feel safe. You don't need to deal with all the other stress from the rest of the day. You want to be happy, and you need that extra dopamine so you feel good and you want to have fun. It's your best friend.
It is. And by the way, that's a story that I learned about a year ago, where Dr. Christina Rahm, actually the intention for developing Zero In was to help women with menopause. And as a result of it, turned out you have athletes shattering records and tier 1 special operators who are already the highest level shooters in the world, who their shoot times are faster and far more accurate than they've been prior to that with Zero In.
And so, you look at that from an operator standpoint, right?
Amazing, all natural, blessed by the Olympic Committee because it's Gold Star BSCG approved, which is a certification worldwide to the highest levels. So Olympic athletes can take it, U.S. military can take it, all of the college in the United States, the NCAA, as well as the national sports, NFL, MLB, NBA, you name it, tennis association, U.S. Tennis Association, it's all fine. It's all fine because it's all freaking natural and proven. So,
well, it's not only natural, but it's actually cleared. Because the funny part with Zero In,
clear or clean?
Clean and cleared.
Clean and clear.
So there's no banned substances in it, but the outcomes. So there's two banned substance testing bodies in the United States. There's BSCG, which is the global leader, right? They test for 500 different substances on the banned substance list, which is kind of important. And then there's NSF. And we are just finishing our NSF audit for our lab that we acquired last year. It was a longer process, but NSF. Thank you. It's been a lot of work.
In South Carolina with people, like really, I mean, you guys built a business in February 2020 when they were bringing this in upon mankind, and the prophecy placed upon your wife 3 times about you are here to battle a healthcare crisis across the world. And you're in 85-ish countries now, and you guys have operations overseas. You're employing Americans, American made. You're in multiple different states. You have this new plant in South Carolina, scientists, a science team, and all these patents is freaking incredible.
Well, no, what's funny? You know what's funny with that is, and then we can hit on the last part that we got off of. But in the last 6 years, right? Because there's a lot of people that talk about being social influencers and doing all this stuff, and people dancing to make money and whatnot. Over the last 6 years, because of the approach that we took to deploying the Root-averse into investing in our community.
Yeah.
And maybe I was having a little prayer time about this the other day, and God told me, He's like, you know what, you might have given too much to the wrong people, but we're working on that. So in the last 6 years that we've developed and deployed all of this science, right? Yeah. All of these outcomes, the case studies that you're talking about, and hundreds more that have been published, and thousands upon thousands of outcomes in 80 plus countries now, and all of this, we've given away, get this. This is not a Breckinism, right? Because I can look at all these other social influencers that are selling stuff on social media and everything, like buy this supplement, me. We've given away $100 million. $100 million. Wow. So not only do we have all of the IP to show that, okay, pick an issue, we got that handled. We've put $100 million into people's pockets for the value that they've helped create within the community. And all of these outcomes that have led to all of these patents have been done by our customer base, sharing with people. And we gave away $100 million for doing that too. This is not a hard conversation.
No. And on top of that, you've given away trips to people and going to Italy. And, you know, I've just got this, a few of the testimonials which have come up for us, this one is, hang on a second. I've got too many images open, so I got to take one off. Okay. Are you okay if we take this awesome thumbnail off? Because this is the truth. Skynet's active, but we're talking about one of the things we can do here as well. I like this one for, well, clinically reversing autism. Everybody, we have that as well. We've already shown that. That just came up in the Rumble. Been taking root training pack for almost 3 years. Love it. That's Cat for God. We've had people who have reversed Colonel Chuck Sellers, former deputy commander of Delta Force, with the specific protocol that you and your wife provided him. He had stage 4 something a year ago, and in 8 weeks, to the day, as he said on the show with you, he said, to the day that you and Dr. Christina Rahm said he'll be fine when he goes in and gets tested, he is tested that day. The doctor said, you're fine. I've never seen anything like it. When the doctors were telling them to prepare and put their affairs in order. All from this BSCG approved.
We should have put that. We didn't have it back then, but we should have put that on Kalshi or whatever it was, so we could have bet on it, right? When we said he'll be fine in 2 months, and they're like, "You're going to be dead," and like, you know what?
Good.
Give me the odds on that. Let's bet on it. We all could have gotten paid.
Yeah, you crushed it. Yeah. And hey, like you said, with 100 million you put out from Bogey 7771, the father, who you answered the question about the insulin resistance in his daughter. So he already said here on the YouTube chat, he said, okay, thanks. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to order. It says, you're more blessed to give than receive. And that's exactly what you guys have been doing. Incredible mission. There we go. He's back.
There we go. Took me out again.
That's all right.
Hang on.
Yeah, I'll just tell everybody on Rumble in the chat, we have SC for Well says, thank you for this information. Karabuko says, love you guys. Lots of great comments on our Rumble chat. Fantastic. And
I don't know which one I am now.
That's all right. We can just leverage both. Coming back in. So while we wait for Clayton, I'll just go back over. Oh, there we are. Cool. Can hear you.
Yeah, so it's the question. Really, it comes down to the question of are you willing to take a little risk and try something? But even when we launched this in February of 2020, I wanted to eliminate that risk. I mean, so we've got probably the best money back guarantee you can ask for, and we have a 0.3% return rate because the stuff works.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're not in this to take people's money, right? We don't. Businesses run on cash. We all need money so we can do good things. I mean, everybody should be able to make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, and do dope stuff, right? That's what we're made to do and help a lot of people. So the goal was being able to build an algorithmic fintech system that could reward people, for creating value once they had received value themselves, right? And it puts the onus on the company to create outcomes because you can't hype that at that point. And, well, we've got it. Now it's time to go to work.
Well, as we wrap up here these next few minutes, Clayton, just the last thing on the alien parasites discovered in the mold and the fungi, things which people are seeing under the microscopes, which have never been seen before on planet Earth and revealed. Can you talk a little bit about that and then perhaps linking it to the fungi and the mold and what people could do with one of the products to help themselves?
Every single product we have is antifungal, and the key in this is environment. Environment is everything, right? So if you create an environment that is not conducive for bad things to survive in, bad things are not going to survive in you. If your body is healthy and functioning, which means you have great immune function, which means you have great biological function, and you've got balance and homeostasis, you're going to be exposed to things in the environment. And this just in, you want to, because it's a lot like working out, right? You know that you have to stay active. You should have some semblance of fitness in your life and your activities. The same thing goes biologically. You can't just live in a bubble. We're going to be exposed to stuff, but you don't have to be victimized by it, right? So you can say that, oh, we're being exposed to all these things. Yes. And here's what they're doing. They're taking over the weak ones.
Yeah.
Right? You don't ever see The Rock getting his ass kicked in like the Scorpion King and everything. You see all the little guys that are getting their butts kicked, but The Rock is always like, oh, why? Because he's the supreme being. He's the big healthy one. That's who you're supposed to be. Not massive and all bulked up, but strong and healthy. So anything that goes on in the environment, you're going to be able to deal with it. You might get sick, right? And that's good. Here's the truth about virology, just so you guys can understand this. If you look at the body as a biological computing system, which it is,
Yeah.
if your body contracts a virus, right? So you have RNA transcriptionase as part of your immune system and your body's functioning. So if you're exposed to, say, other RNA, it could be mRNA even. You can contract a virus, right? So then your immune system is going to say, hey, I've identified this packet of information, because that's what a virus is, and I'm going to take that packet of information and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to unzip it and I'm going to read through everything that is there. This process uses a lot of energy. What's a byproduct of the energy production? Well, you could call it a fever, because your body is heating up because it's spending all of this energy on analyzing what it's just been exposed to. It's going to take that information in, it's going to analyze it, it's going to learn from what it needs to learn from, and then it's going to throw the rest out. That's if your body's working properly. If it's not working properly, all of that stuff is going to build up and burden you, and then it's going to create other chaos, which is going to allow these other parasites, these satanic parasites and all this other stuff that we're exposed to, and all this bad fungus that wants to grow and take over control of you, and that creates the environment for all the other dysbiosis to take place. Then you're like, man, I don't feel good. I have this disorder. I have diabetes. I've been told I have a psychological issue. My kids aren't happy. All of this stuff that goes on. None of that has to be reality.
Wow. Wild. Well, God bless you guys, mate. I'm looking for
God bless all of us, right? It's not about
everyone.
It's not about one. We've all got to do this together. This is the thing.
Oh yeah.
None of us get out of this thing alive, right? We all get to move on. We get to leave the skin suit and hopefully take our souls back to the party above us or around us. So you don't have to worry about dying, right? Because you never die. That was, Christ showed us that.
Mm-hmm.
Own it, accept it. Now, when you leave this place, you want to do it well, right? You want to leave it with some influence. You want to make sure that you're doing what you're made to do, to be a good shepherd and a good steward in this environment, right? And you've got amazing people that have been on here, like you said, with Colonel Chuck Sellers and what he's done and his skill set. And he's done different stuff than what you or I have done. And he's used his skills to do really cool stuff.
Yep.
Each one of us is given divine gifts, right? Because as my favorite philosopher wrote, we are each an imperfect piece to a perfect puzzle. Through that, you have to understand that you are an important piece to this entire puzzle, right? If you don't work on you, this whole thing doesn't get done. And it's one of the best things you can teach kids. It's like, look, your job is to be your best self. So don't use all these chemicals, all these things that people are trying to tell you to use, because that's actually taking you away from being who God made you to be. And if they're able to do that, that keeps us from being what we are supposed to be, which is humanity, right? Community. Right? So you could argue, are we communists? Well, at the end of the day, yeah, we are. But it's been hijacked because we should be community. We should be communal as a society. That's why all of this war stuff, everything that's going on, keeps us, it is the satanic application of keeping us from being what we are made to be, which is connected.
Awesome. It certainly is. And we'll be back together in about 2 weeks with something else, everybody. So stay tuned. In the meantime, when you go to getrootnow.com, you'll be taken right over to the main page. You can do /wellness. It'll take you over to the page for Clean Slate, Trinity Pack, and Zero In. But just on getrootnow.com, you go over there, you go to the science section, and once again, you can see all the patents approved and pending, just like we were covering here with Bogey 7771. Here it is, formulation and method for autism, the application number, and the recommended product. Again, Clean Slate, right, is the foundational product, and then everything else from that you can order. You can also ask questions to the team. There's an FAQ section, treatment for psoriasis, breast cancer, treatment for multiple sclerosis, viral respiratory disease, neurodegenerative diseases, and Parkinson's. It's all right here from this non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, all right here for this long COVID, all right here from this incredible company, Clayton, his wife, and the team. So yeah, well, God bless us all, brother.
If you type when you go to the site and you go to checkout, above your checkout box, there's a coupon code. If you put in the one word term "welcome back," you can save $10.
Oh, nice! Welcome back, $10. Thank you. All right, I'll put that in the chat for everyone here too. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you and catch up later. You look like you're in a lovely environment, so enjoy the trip.
Cheers, brother. See you soon.
All right. Mahalo, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you are looking for groundbreaking nutritional products which revolutionize the way your body operates, you have to check out this cutting-edge, American-made, all-natural wellness brand. Root the Trinity Pack from GetRootNow.com is a game-changer. Let me show you. Zero In is the world's first quantum-ceutical, an all-natural, adaptogenic nootropic which skyrockets your clarity and creativity. Professional athletes have reported over a 40% increase in their performance in only 90 days. Restore is a supplement that completely restores your gut health, optimizes your true brain, helping you tap into quantum consciousness, also known as the God Mind, altogether with Clean Slate, which gently wipes out harmful heavy metals from your body, gently evacuating toxins, including graphene oxide. Trinity Pack from Root altogether helps you increase your performance, longevity, deep sleep, and have a far greater quality of life. Register now at GetRootNow.com to grab your Trinity Pack. Then hit subscribe and save to get $15 back every month. Trinity Pack has also received the gold standard, a worldwide BSCG approval, allowing those in the military to first responders to the NFL, PGA, NBA, FIFA World Cup Soccer, and more feel assured it is indeed all natural and drug-free. Trinity Pack even comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. So when you grab your Trinity at GetRootNow.com, you can feel good knowing it's endorsed by Tier 1 Special Operations Warriors, to lightworkers, benevolent healthcare heroes, professional athletes, and Olympians detoxing their systems and unleashing their greatest self from across the globe. You can also get rewarded for being part of the Root community. See you there!